Hi, this is Don Nelson, editor of the Additive Report and host of the Additive Reporter video series. Last November, 2 days before Thanksgiving, I had total knee replacement surgery. As I was rolled into the operating room, I noticed what looked like a 5-foot-tall blue and white crane with the word Mako on it. Just before I lost consciousness, I told myself I'd find out what a Mako crane is after the operation. What it is a surgical assist robot made by Stryker for helping surgeons implant artificial knees more accurately and with less damage to tissue. I also learned Stryker made my new knee. It's a triathlon cementless implant with a cast cobalt chrome femur and a patella and tibia that are 3D printed from titanium. Titanium is Stryker's alloy for 3D printing implants. I wrote an article for the Q2 issue of the Additive Report about how Stryker uses 3D printing to make implants and how the Mako robot assists with knee surgery. You can find the article at our website. Besides knees, the company also 3D prints hips, spinal cages, and other implantables. In fact, the company operates a plant in Ireland that's dedicated to 3D printing orthopedic parts. It builds about 1 million of these parts annually. I interviewed Robert Cohen for the article. He's the president of Stryker's Digital, Robotics, and Enabling Technologies. Following are some outtakes from our conversation. In the first clip, Robert talks about his career, how Stryker manufactures triathlon knees, and why it's harder to make a tibial component than a femoral component.
One of those rare breeds that I graduated engineering school, New Jersey Institute of Technology in Newark, New Jersey. And I graduated with a bachelor's and master's and got right into total knee replacement prosthetic design. It's totally weird. And I've stayed the same thing. My master's thesis was on it, and I've stayed the same thing my whole career. So learning from the 1980s and looking at the evolution of design, looking at the evolution of biomaterials, looking at knowing more about a patient to where an implant should go in a patient. It's not just about the implant, it's about where it goes, and understanding about biologic fixation so the implant won't be rejected by your body. And then we could get bone maybe to grow into the implant so it creates its own single unit, if you will. The implant becomes one with the body. That's decades of experience, and it's all evolving through that. So right now we're doing there's a femur, a tibia, and a patella, right? 3 pieces.
Right.
The femur is cast cobalt chrome. And that's cobalt chrome because that articulating surface it works out well against polyethylene. So with cobalt chrome, we use cobalt chrome, and cobalt chrome is a really difficult material, and it's actually better served investment casting. So you melt it, you pour it into a ceramic container, and then you shape, and then you machine it, polish it, things like that. For the purposes of cementless, then we will sinter beads. So we would take cobalt chrome beads, little small BBs, put them on the component, and a bone will grow into that. If you looked at a femur, and it sounds like you looked at some pictures online, if you looked at a femur, there's 5 cuts to the side of a femur, 5 box cuts.
Yeah.
The 2 on the ends, that's like a wedge. So you get mechanical stability, not necessarily from ingrowth. You get it just from the surfaces that hold it. Like that's like the most stable surface whatsoever. It doesn't matter what the component is made of or what the surface is. That geometry of the cuts, like if I gave that to you on a piece of wood at your home, and I gave you an equivalent thing and you bang it with a mallet, that thing's got to be tighter than it can be. And just think about it. You're standing up, so you're always sort of pushing it tighter in place no matter what, right? So that's not a problem.
Right.
Why is the tibia a problem? Because you're dealing with a flat. Engineers, flat. What's the problem with a flat? What's resistant from rotation, flat on flat? And then when you sit in a chair and you're 90 degrees of flexion, the flat on flat's like a teeter-totter. Like the front wants to lift up, the back wants to go. So that's a big challenge.
Right.
And then you have different bone. And so therefore, initial stability is a challenge on the tibia. Longer term ingrowth, a challenge on the tibia. Reducing motion at the interface, challenge on the tibia. Issue number 1 is stability right from surgery, but that's a mechanical stability. That's like you made a preparation in a wall and you got to hold something really tight in the wall. It's like the interference fit. That's
Mm-hmm.
the initial stability to hold it solid. So that's a design. That's a mechanical engineer. That's a mechanical design. Your bone takes months to grow into. So that's the first objective. And current
Yeah.
manufacturing processes like castings didn't give us coefficient of friction, didn't give us other opportunities to make surfaces that were mechanically strong enough, and it didn't allow us to do design enhancements. Like you saw, if you looked at your component, you have 4 pegs and a keel.
Yep.
You couldn't machine that and make the cost would be outlandish for you to try and machine that. So no one did it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
now you can do an additive manufacture layer by layer, and you could put those posts and a keel with the tolerance where they're all working together and they're creating an interference fit when it goes in. So as
Okay.
soon as it goes in, you are rock solid, my man. Like rock
Yeah.
solid.
Yeah.
And then the patella, which gets cut, that's 3D printed back on it because that doesn't get as much direct load. You're not standing on your patella, it's more shear load. So we make a geometry and we put titanium on the back of that for biologic ingrowth, the exact same titanium that's on back of the tibia. And so there's your sequence. On the tibia, the way that's produced, we start off with powder, direct metal laser sintering. We produce in a batch a number of tibial components per run, depending on what size. Then they come off, they get cut off the build plate. They get powder removal. We have some subsequent proprietary post-processing. And then we will then set it up in a fixture and we will machine the inside that the polyethylene locks into. So that surface is smooth, won't create particulate with abrasion. And the lock capability gives it an absolute lock. That metal tibial component will then will powder removal. We'll then go through a cleaning process. And we'll then go into a sterile pack. We'll be sent out for sterility and we ship it to the hospital.
Stryker is a pioneer in terms of adopting additive manufacturing for producing medical devices. It's been involved with the technology for 2 decades. In the next clip, Robert talks about the company's history with 3D printing and what additive allows that conventional manufacturing processes don't.
And we went big 20 years ago and said, this is the future. And this is the future for a lot of reasons. And it's not just the future because it's a new process. It's a future of a process to get you there. I often say 3D printing by itself is nothing. It's just fancy printing and another way to manufacture. It's actually the people and the skill set of the people that want to solve problems in new ways and come up with new, in our case, implants. And 3D printing is the enabler to put that design into reality. As an engineer, I can tell you for years, there are things that I wanted to do 20 years ago, but conventional manufacturing processes limited the design capability and innovation in prosthetic joints. We were stuck with processes, and I don't say this in a bad way, but stuck since the 1940s, with casting process, forging, milling, and lathes. 3D printing now allows us to do geometries, surfaces, structures, different shapes that could have more initial stability of an implant to bone structures. Maybe to load bone completely different by changing the stiffness variation across the whole design. And now 3D printing was the only way to do that. And on top of that, 3D printing, I talked about how bone wants to grow into something. Well, instead of just doing line of sight process where you might drill holes and say, hey, bone, hope you grow into the hole. Now we can make scaffold structures like soccer balls and have bone grow into it and have scaffolds that have structural integrity at the same time.
I hope you enjoyed this video with Robert Cohen as much as I enjoyed interviewing him and learning about my new and greatly improved knee. This is Don Nelson. Thanks for watching. Please check out our other videos and social media channels, and I'll see you next time.